The fluorescent lights above the marble lobby flickered once, twice, then went dark. A hush fell over the room filled with executives, laptops, and deadlines. And that's when the janitor's cart squeaked in. A single dad in a worn uniform stepped forward with a toolbox. Nobody noticed him until he opened his mouth and flawless French poured out, leaving the CEO frozen in her chair. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. The corporate tower pulsed with urgency. Phones rang, heels clacked against polished floors, and tension thickened in the boardroom as a power outage threatened an international video call. "Where's maintenance?" barked Victoria Hale, the 42-year-old CEO, her sharp navy suit reflecting the authority she commanded. That's when Daniel Cooper, 35, a single father with weary eyes and a grease-stained shirt, pushed through the glass doors. His son's school lunchbox sticker, Batman peeling at the edges, was tucked in the corner of his bag. He didn't belong here, not among the polished suits and million-dollar deals. "Ma'am," Daniel said calmly, adjusting his toolbox. "I'll have this fixed in a moment." "Just hurry," Victoria snapped, not bothering to glance at him. The board members rolled their eyes, murmuring about blue-collar distractions. Daniel climbed the ladder, hands steady despite the judgment prickling his skin. He'd done this 100 times. Wires twisted, sparks flared. He worked with the precision of someone who couldn't afford mistakes. Every second mattered. His son was waiting at home with a stack of overdue homework, but then an international call rang through the speakers, half-powered by a backup generator. The client's voice boomed in French, sharp and impatient. None of the executives could respond. Faces flushed, panic rippled across the polished table. Millions hung in the balance. Daniel paused. He swallowed hard, then spoke without hesitation, his voice cutting through the chaos in flawless, commanding French. "Veuillez patienter un instant. Le problème technique sera résolu dans quelques minutes." Every head turned. The CEO froze, lips parted, eyes locked on him as though he'd morphed into someone entirely different. The maintenance man, her maintenance man, had just rescued a $200 million deal with perfect French. The boardroom exhaled like a single set of lungs. Conversations broke into a dozen startled whispers as Daniel tightened the wire nut, reset the breaker in the ceiling panel, and pulled the ladder away from the glass wall. The lights surged back to full life. Screens stabilized. The French client, now visibly relieved on the enormous wall display, continued speaking at a rapid clip. Daniel didn't hesitate. He stepped closer to the mic, voice steady, translation on instinct. "He's asking if the timeline can be accelerated by 4 weeks because his partner is leaving the country," he said to the room. Then answered in French, "Nous pouvons revoir le calendrier, mais cela exigera des ressources supplémentaires et une réunion de suivi aujourd'hui." A stunned silence followed. Even the air conditioning sounded deferential. Victoria Hale stood. Her tone lost its ice. "What's your name?" He swallowed. "Daniel Cooper, ma'am." "Mr. Cooper," she said, eyes narrowing like she was trying to see through to his bones. "Stay." He nodded once. The call resumed. Daniel translated with crisp efficiency, condensing jargon, smoothing tense phrasing, turning landmines into handshakes. By the time the French client agreed to a revised schedule and signed off with a courteous "à bientôt," the room trembled with something close to awe. A senior VP, sleek hair, sharper jaw, broke first. "Well, that was unexpected." His name tag read Ethan Price. He'd been the loudest groaner when Daniel rolled in. Victoria cut him off. "Ethan, reschedule the follow-up for this afternoon. I want legal and product there. And Mr. Cooper," she turned back to Daniel, "don't go anywhere." Daniel cleared his throat. "The lights are stable. If you have any other outages, log them and—" "Sit," she said, gesturing to an empty chair at the table like it had always been his. "You just secured a lifeline. You're not walking out." The executives rearranged themselves, a ring of restless curiosity. Daniel sat, his uniform creasing against leather that probably cost more than his car. He felt his pulse in his hands, clean, calloused hands that knew outlets, breaker boxes, the weight of a kid's backpack at 7 a.m. A timid cough sounded at the doorway. An intern, young, nervous, carrying a tray with coffees, hovered, eyes rimmed with exhaustion. The tray shook, a cup teetered. Without thinking, Daniel was up, catching the cup mid-fall. "You're good," he said softly. "Take a breath." "Thank you," she whispered, cheeks pink. No one told me about the call. I've been running since 6. Daniel slipped a folded napkin into her free hand. "Keep this in your pocket." It sounds silly, but having one thing you can control, like where to put a hot cup, helps steady you. He guided the tray to the credenza, palms gentle as though the coffee were precious. Victoria watched the small moment like it mattered. "Mr. Cooper," she said, "how many languages do you speak?" "2 fluently." He sat back down. "French and English. Where'd you learn French?" He drew in a measured breath. "Restaurant kitchens on the night shift. And a librarian who found out I liked language tapes. She'd hold the cassette deck behind the desk until I finished my routes and let me sit on the floor and learn." Ethan scoffed. "So you're a handyman who moonlights as a translator." Daniel didn't look at him. "I'm a dad who moonlights as whatever keeps my kids safe." Victoria's gaze flicked to his bag and the peeling Batman sticker. "How old?" 10, Liam. He's good, kind." Daniel hesitated. "He likes to draw schematics of spaceships and label every bolt. Says it's how he makes sense of chaos." A small smile ghosted over Victoria's face, gone as quickly as it came. "You mentioned resources on the call. If I asked you to sit with product and legal at 2, could you keep us from stepping on rakes in 2 languages?" "I can try," Daniel said. "But I'm here under contract with facilities." "I don't want to overstep." From the far end of the table, Ethan leaned forward, the diplomatic mask slipping. "There are compliance issues, NDAs, clearances. We can't just pull the John maintenance guy into a multi-million-dollar process because he happens to know restaurant French." "Business French," Daniel corrected gently. "And I'm happy to sign an NDA and abandon your post." Ethan shot back. "Who's fixing the rest of the lights? Who handles a fire alarm if one goes off?" Daniel glanced at the ceiling, reading the panel layout in his head. "The alarms are independent. Power's stable now. I already flagged a load balancing issue. Someone's been piggybacking surge protectors in the west bullpen. That's why the breaker tripped when your wall screen spun up." Ethan's jaw flexed. Victoria's phone buzzed. She skimmed an email, then looked up, expression tight. "Our French client wants the amended terms by 5. If we blow this, we lose distribution across 2 continents." She turned to Daniel. "You cold read a person well?" Daniel considered. "I try. People tell you everything if you listen for what they're not saying." "Good," she said, because the partner on that call was bluffing about the 4-week acceleration. "He wants us to panic so he can drive the price down." She pointed at the screen. "You heard that too, didn't you?" "Yes," Daniel said. He kept softening on timing but never on price. He cares about control. If we offer phased delivery with visible milestones and a face-saving concession like a dedicated support line in French, you'll keep the rate and give him something he can brag about. The room altered like a lens snapping into focus. Victoria pushed back from the table. "Mr. Cooper, follow me." They walked into the hall with its high glass and cool light. Daniel matched her pace, noticing the way her hands stilled when she was composing a question. She stopped before a window overlooking the city. "I grew up translating," she said, voice unexpectedly soft. "English for my grandmother's Creole French. It kept our world from splitting in half." She faced him. "I know what you did wasn't luck," he shifted. "Compliments were heavier than toolboxes. It's just practice. It's grit," she countered. "And a strangely precise ear." She folded her arms. "We have a lot of people here with dazzling resumes. Not enough with steady hands when the lights go out." Before he could answer, a commotion erupted around the corner. A courier, white-haired, 60 at least, had spilled documents across the floor. Papers skittered like leaves. The man stooped, groaning, his knee refusing to cooperate. Daniel was already moving. He crouched, gathering pages in careful stacks, reading the labels aloud to organize them. Q3 financials, legal exhibits, Proposal addendum. He handed each set back in order. You're okay? The courier blinked. You just saved me an hour and a reprimand. Daniel smiled. You looked like you needed the hour more. Victoria watched again, something opening in her eyes she didn't show in boardrooms. Kindness at scale, she murmured almost to herself. Ethan appeared, crisp smile back in place. Legal's ready to draft if Mr. Cooper insists on playing consultant. He offered a thin folder. Standard contractor NDA. Sign here, here, and initial here. Daniel took the pen. He read every line. Years of drifting between jobs had taught him what a signature could cost. Clause 7, he said finally, tapping the page. No non-compete beyond the scope of translation today. I won't sign something that keeps me from earning somewhere else. Ethan's smile cooled. That clause is standard. Victoria took the folder, scanned it, then looked at Ethan. Strike it for today. She turned to Daniel. We'll do this on your terms, he signed. The pen felt heavier than before. Back in the boardroom, the afternoon sprint began. Product sketched milestones. Legal framed the phased approach. Daniel translated the nuances into French that didn't just mirror words, but intent, building trust, allowing pride. Rice, he gently redirected a VP whose phrasing could have sounded condescending overseas. Once he caught a contract adjective that in French would have implied blame. The room moved faster because he kept it human. Between tasks, his phone buzzed with a text from his neighbor, Mrs. Kendrick. Liam's here with his sketchbook. Fed him grilled cheese. He asked if you'd check his science project tonight. Relief loosened something in his chest. He typed back, You're an angel. I'll be there by 8. At 4, the French partner called back. Daniel took the line, Victoria at his shoulder. Nous respectons votre calendrier, Daniel said smoothly, mais nous proposons des jalons de livraison vérifiables. Et he paused just long enough. Une ligne d'assistance dédiée en français, avec des ingénieurs qui comprennent vos contraintes locales. Silence. Then, c'est raisonnable. It was done. When the call ended, a quiet rolled through the room. Victoria extended her hand. Daniel shook it. Her grip was firm, grateful. You just kept my company from bleeding out, she said. Name your rate for today. Daniel shifted, the old reflex to say, It's fine, sparking, then dying. He thought of Liam's sneakers with the separating soles, of the custody mediation next month, where stability would be measured in receipts and schedules. Pay me what you'd pay a consultant who saved a deal, he said, voice even. But there's a second thing. Victoria tilted her head. Which is? I saw the surge piggybacking in the West bullpen. It's a fire hazard. Facilities is understaffed on night cover. Let me fix your building properly. Not a patch, a plan. Prevent this from happening again. Ethan's laugh was almost kind. We have a vendor list for that. Your vendor missed it, Daniel said without heat. I didn't. Victoria considered him for a long moment. Draft a proposal. 1 page. Scope, milestones, cost. If it's clean, I'll sign it myself, Daniel nodded. I'll bring it by at 8 a.m. As the room emptied, the intern from earlier approached, nervous smile steadier than before. Hey, thank you. For the napkin trick. She lifted the corner of the napkin sticking out of her blazer pocket. It worked. Keep it, Daniel said. She bit her lip. Can I ask something? How do you stay so calm when people talk down to you? He thought of nights washing dishes while a chef hurled pans and insults, of filling out applications under fluorescent lights, of reading French in a whisper so his son could sleep. I tried to remember they might be walking around with a fire inside. Doesn't mean I have to burn too. Behind them, Victoria stood in the doorway, listening. Mr. Cooper, she said quietly, do you have dinner plans? I promised my kid I'd check his science project, he replied. He made a model of a Mars habitat out of cereal boxes. The corner of her mouth lifted. Then go, we'll finish here. She hesitated, something un-CEO-like in her voice. Your son, he's lucky. Daniel slung his bag over his shoulder, glanced once at the city stretching beyond glass. I'm the lucky one. He turned to leave, but Ethan blocked the hall. The VP's tone was smooth honey poured over gravel. Enjoy your little hero moment, Mr. Cooper. Tomorrow we'll be back to reality. Daniel met his eyes without venom. Tomorrow's exactly what I'm working for. He stepped past, nodding to security and thanking the receptionist by name. In the lobby, sunlight melted into evening. As he pushed through the revolving door, he texted Mrs. Kendrick, "On my way. Tell Liam to keep the cereal boxes out. I want to see the airlock." On the sidewalk, Daniel paused, the city's pulse threading through him, the distant siren, the smell of street pretzels, the hush of tires on wet asphalt. A man who fixed lights had just rewired the course of his own night. And the real work, steady, quiet, meticulous, was only beginning. Daniel drove home through the glow of a dusky skyline, his hands still trembling slightly from the storm of the day. His old pickup rattled like it was held together by stubbornness alone, but he didn't care. His head replayed the CEO's words, "Your son, he's lucky." When he pulled into the narrow driveway, the porch light flickered, one of 1,000 chores waiting. But the moment he stepped inside, Liam barreled toward him, holding up a cardboard box covered in tin foil. "Dad, look, it's the Mars Dome. I even made a landing bay." Daniel crouched, wrapping his arms around his boy. "Looks like NASA should hire you right now." His voice caught. Kindness from the world outside was rare. But Liam's smile made it enough. Over grilled cheese and tomato soup, Daniel listened to Liam explain orbital mechanics in the way only a 10-year-old could. And yet, part of his mind replayed Ethan's threat. "Tomorrow, we'll be back to reality." Reality always had a way of clawing back. The next morning, Daniel carried his one-page proposal into the tower. He wore his cleanest shirt, sleeves pressed, hair combed back. Security hesitated until Victoria herself appeared in the lobby. "Mr. Cooper," she said firmly, "he's with me." Her presence silenced the room. She led him into her office. Spacious glass walls, a view of the city sprawling like a chessboard. He set the proposal down. Simple bullet points, fire hazard notes, a maintenance plan that cost a fraction of the last vendor's fees. Victoria read it carefully. Then she looked up. "It's concise, it's practical, and it makes my facilities department look asleep." "That's not my aim," Daniel replied. "I just don't like leaving broken wires behind." She tapped the paper. "Do you know why I believe this? Because you saved my deal yesterday. Not with flash, but with precision. That's rarer than you think." Before Daniel could respond, the door slammed. Ethan strode in, folder in hand, face pale with fury. "This is insane. You're letting him pitch like he belongs here. He's maintenance staff, not management." Victoria's voice turned cold steel. "He belongs wherever he adds value. Yesterday, he added more than anyone in this room." Ethan's lip curled. "You're gambling the company's image on a janitor." Daniel finally stood, meeting his gaze without flinching. "I don't care what you call me. Titles don't keep lights on. Work does." The room chilled. Victoria slid the signed proposal across the desk. "Approved." Effective immediately, Ethan's face drained of color. He stormed out, slamming the door so hard the glass trembled. Later that week, Daniel stayed late wiring the bullpen properly. He worked silently, sleeves rolled, sweat streaking his brow. As he finished, he noticed the same intern from before struggling with a pile of binders. She looked at him, hesitant. "They keep calling me kid like I'm invisible," she whispered. Daniel handed her a pen. "Write your name in bold across the cover of every binder. When someone tries to erase you, make it harder." Her eyes softened. "Thank you." No one else bothers to notice. That night, as he left the building, Victoria intercepted him in the lobby. "I had a call with the French partner today," she said. "He told me he trusts us now because of you. Do you understand what that means?" Daniel shifted uneasily. "It means I did my job," she shook her head. "It means you did more than that. You reminded me why people follow leaders at all, because of trust, not titles." Her gaze lingered. "We could use someone like you here full-time, Daniel. Not just as maintenance, as liaison, as problem solver." His throat tightened. For years, every job had been a stopgap, every paycheck a lifeline. And now, here was a door. Open. But then he thought of Liam asleep at home, cereal box rockets by his bed. He smiled faintly. "If I step through this door, it's only if it means I can still be home for science projects." Victoria's eyes softened in a way few ever saw. Then we'll make it work. Daniel walked into the night, head lifted higher than it had in years. He wasn't just a single dad fixing lights anymore. He was a man who'd been seen and who refused to let reality drag him back down. And for the first time in a long time, he believed tomorrow could belong to him.